This is Ynet News, big Jewish article. They do a lot of really good, honest reporting. God bless those people. The KGB's Middle East files leaking thousands of documents. Okay, this is from 2016, 28th of October, 2016. It's from The Guardian. Israel's former Soviet immigrants transform adopted country. Russian-speaking Jews who arrived over the past 20 years, they were filled with Russian GRU, KGB. It was a Urian drop-off operation, started in 1973. The same year, Henry Kissinger, that other communist Bolshevik operator, was running around, taking President Nixon around, forming détente with the Soviet Union and China to transfer technology. And now we're in the shit we're in today with the imminent destruction of the United States. Russian-speaking Jews who arrived over the past 20 years have integrated little but influenced everything from culture to politics. The million-plus citizens of the former Soviet Union. This article, I put it out 5 freaking years ago and talked about it daily. Have you ever seen it anywhere else? That's IIA suppression of important information. The million-plus citizens of the former Soviet Union who migrated to Israel in the past 20 years have not only made new lives of their own, but they have transformed their adopted country. They have influenced the culture, high-tech industry, language, education, and perhaps most significantly, Israeli politics. We can talk for hours about this. I've got 100 of these articles. I've got 100 of them. It's from The Week, very large journal. Why Russia should take over Israel's defense from America. From July 3rd, 2015. You don't think this has something to do with that, which has something to do with that? The Soviet Union voted in favor of the establishment of Israel in the hopes that the young country would become pro-Soviet. Every freaking leader was a Bolshevik. In 1924, David Ben-Gurion comes back from a meeting with Stalin in Moscow saying, I am a Bolshevik. And he never recanted. Never. And then he's promising in the early 50s to President Eisenhower, we'll keep those communists out of the Middle East. You just feed us the tech and the military equipment. Yeah? Because they didn't want them. The KGB didn't always operate directly. Sometimes the espionage in Israel was performed by intelligence agencies belonging to other countries in the Soviet bloc. I don't know, Slovenia, Czechoslovakia. I say the women are pretty hot. Be careful if you marry one. The Bulgarians were in there. And we can just go on to all their recruitments in the Knesset, involved with David Ben-Gurion and Mapam, various other agents from all political sides. Most of these, remember, these are Poles and Russians. That's where they all came from. Every Israeli prime minister was either born in the old Russian Empire in Poland or Belarus, or was the sons and daughters of one of them. That's not an accident. Do you understand what they're saying? They said, yeah, go with it. Go with the US, because you'll get all their technology. Then you're going to give it to us via our network of GRU and KGB assets, like Microsoft. And we can backdoor the software, find out all its weaknesses, and start hacking the shit out of them. Part 4, it didn't take long. This is juicy. It didn't take long, however, for the Russians to find a new source of intelligence. Jewish immigration from the Soviet Union to Israel increased starting in 1971. This is the build-up to détente, Soviet Union, China, the transfer of technology, the Binational Science Foundation. Henry Kissinger was leading it all. The great commie spy in his $1,000 Armani wool suits. Between the years 1971 to 73, some 100,000 Jews received permission to go beyond the Iron Curtain, with many of them choosing to make Aliyah to Israel. This was an opportunity the KGB could not miss. It wasn't an opportunity. It was planned from the beginning. The Mitrokhin documents list some of the names of the Jewish spies who were recruited at the time. The KGB picked immigrants whose professions it believed would be sought after by Israeli authorities, with a clear preference for the Israeli Defense Force. And I don't know, the Talpiot program and Unit 8200, computer science, coders, electrical engineers, aeronautical engineers, missile technicians. The F-35 is partially built and designed in Israel. Why do you think all this tech is making its way? Why do you think the Su-57 piece of crap has a new helmet sighting system based on the F-35? It all came out of Israel. It's all in my must-watch videos. And you tell me, if you have 2 brain cells, that you actually believe the internet is in the remotest bit real? They are liars. These pro-Putin groupies ought to be shot for freaking treason. But I assure you, there's nowhere to go to get this information out who are not compromised. There's no one. They're either alien, UFO, viruses don't exist, flat earth shit. They flooded the fucking market. It's a huge Russian-Israeli psychological warfare program. Do you not see the catastrophe that is happening before our fucking eyes? Seriously? Is not this somehow linked to this? Intel appoints 10 Israeli executives to senior global positions. And how many are Russian GRU KGB assets? Or loosely affiliated with assets? Or their PA is a KGB asset passing on important technical information? Use your freaking imagination. The United States is penetrated, baby. And when you have Rad Group, Zohar Zisapel is running your electrical systems, banking and financial and government and corporate and military encryption technologies, and you sit there, and it's not just America, it's worldwide, and we can't get his name anywhere, and you haven't worked out what a crock of shit the internet is now? That this might have something to do with that, which might have massive ramifications, and that's why they focus on fucking Prince Andrew, a fucking fat moronic nobody, but we're not talking about the possible compromise of Intel CEO Brian Krzanich by the Epstein-Ghislaine or same or similar network, blackmail operations, that got Microsoft and all these top CEOs to start shifting the American high technology sector into Israel. These are not they're not coding the calculator app for Windows. They're core coding it in Israel. The ramifications are enormous and nobody gives an effing shit. It's treason. At the time, the Russians were trying to re-establish contact Dr. Marcus Klinberg, their top spy at the Israel Institute for Biological Research, this is their biological warfare program, in Nez Ziona unsuccessfully. The IIRB is a top secret facility. Listen up now. Listen real effing close. Is a top facility where Israel is reportedly developing the most lethal biological weapon as well as silent assassination measures used on occasion by the Mossad. Do you want me to read this again? Israel Institute for Biological Research is a top secret facility where Israel is reportedly developing its most lethal biological weapon. Hello? And if you think that as they are discovered or they're hacking, their compromise of critical infrastructure, you think the Israeli state wouldn't to cover for that? You think they wouldn't? You bet they damn well would. Only 3% of the documents have been released. 3%. The British have them all. The British. Could have been in the hands of the Americans. The British have got it all. Ladies and gentlemen, is that linked with why Russia should take over Israel's defense from America? Do you think they might be all linked? Is something linked with that? Is that linked with this? Do you understand? I think, is that linked with that? Intel appoints 10 Israeli executives? Is that why America is getting hacked every 5 minutes? Is that why America is falling apart and the borders are being opened and every sort of stupid, ridiculous thing you could ever possibly think is going on, creating a civil war in the United States? And Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are right on in there. Steve Bannon, James O'Keefe, Tucker Carlson, your fucking right-wing fucking heroes are sitting there and they got nothing to say. Look at all this. Is that linked with that? Hacks raise questions about Pentagon and securing cybersecurity. Has that got something to do with Intel wins Pentagon semiconductor contract? Has that got something to do with that? Or that security flaw? Or Brian Krzanich, was he compromised? Has that got something to do with that? Does that have something to do with we think of ourselves as an Israeli company as much as a US company? I just want to say that will be centered here in Jerusalem. Has that got something to do with that? This infiltration of the United States via Israel, Russia, China is going to come out. And I'm pleased to have done my bit. No one can apparently link this together. No one, your internet hero of choice apparently thought, we think of ourselves as an Israeli company as much as a US company. Was not important. And we don't need to repeat that. No. So when we see it all linked together, sweeping bill targeting online hate speech, that is to stop the discussion going on in Israel. That's probably to stop the Israeli press spilling the beans. The Israeli press spills the beans so often, I'm just sitting here in shock because they're saying, please invade us. Got to get the Russian government out of our country. Please, this is not about the Russian people. Please, they have suffered so much under communism. I want them to have a good life. I want them to be strong allies of the West. But right now, as long as they're under Putin, who was put in place by Kissinger, then the problem persists.